Hi guys, I'm Sidney Galpern and I'm the owner and inventor of Isomalt. Today I want to talk to you all about the amazing and unique qualities of Isomalt. So Isomalt is a sugar-free substitute, and it's basically a sugar-free hard candy. So it's going to be used for lollipops, for cake toppers, for decorations. It's kind of like a hard candy edible glass. Some of the advantages of using Isomalt compared to using traditional boiled sugar are going to be it's very clear, it's very strong, it's a lot more durable in humidity, and so we're going to explore all of those topics today in this video. So Isomalt is basically a sugar-free hard candy. So it's made from beets. It's a byproduct of beet sugar. So when they extract beet sugar, Isomalt is essentially what's left over, which is really nice because it is 100% edible and again, totally sugar-free. So it won't spike your blood sugar in any way. So Isomalt is also sometimes referred to as a sugar alcohol, and while there's not actually any alcohol in the Isomalt, it just refers to the molecular compound is very similar to an alcohol. So you may also hear it referred to as that. So when Isomalt is in a raw form, it's used for a lot of different things. Things that you may actually already know about, but didn't know that they use Isomalt. So things like sugar-free hard candies, like Jolly Ranchers. They use it in glazes for hams. They'll use it for cough drops. Lots of different applications do use Isomalt, even sugar-free chocolates. Because again, it is a basically sugar alternative. So when it is in a raw form, it's going to be a crystal, almost like a granulated sugar. So here you can see I have two bowls. One of them here on the left contains regular granulated sugar. So you can see, just like you would use for baking, it's very fine, you know, a little bit translucent when you look at it up close. And then in the bowl that I have here on the right is Isomalt. So this is what it looks like when it's raw. You may have seen Isomalt crystals. That's usually what it's referred to, or Isomalt powder. And so it's a little bit more coarse. It's definitely thicker than the granulated sugar, but it does come in different thicknesses of the granules. And essentially this is raw, untempered Isomalt. So just like you would take the sugar and melt it down and cook it according to a recipe to create a caramel or a glaze or whatever you're going to do with it, Isomalt has to be tempered kind of in the same way. So similar to how chocolate needs to be tempered, Isomalt needs to be tempered to a very specific recipe in order for it to work properly for you. If you were just to melt down the Isomalt in the microwave, not add anything to it, just melt it down until it melts and, you know, turns clear, it's not going to be in temper. It may pour, it may go into your mold, but it's not going to hold up well for you, so tempering is a really, really important step. The process of tempering the Isomalt is basically going to be taking the raw Isomalt crystals over the stove and melting them down to varying degrees of temperature. So it's kind of like a tempering chocolate process, if you're familiar with that. And you do have to go through that process in order to get the Isomalt stabilized and in temper. The only other thing that I add into my Isomalt is I like to add a little bit of distilled water, and that is going to add some elasticity into the Isomalt. Now, some other recipes do call for corn syrup or things like glycerin, but for me personally, I find that that makes the Isomalt way too stretchy and too pliable. It doesn't set up properly for me, and it also is going to make it a lot more susceptible to moisture and humidity because of those other mediums mixed into your pure Isomalt. So I just add a little bit of water into mine, and that is just going to help it to be a lot more stretchy when you go to work with it. So after you do your tempering process, it's really nice because unlike chocolate, it is not going to go out of temper unless you mix more raw Isomalt in. So if you just melt it down, it's going to stay in temper and then you can use it over and over. The only time you have to go through that tempering process is going to be if you get it from a raw form. So like I said, these are the raw Isomalt crystals that you would have to temper and go through that whole recipe with. But once you temper it, or if you get it yourself already pre-cooked, you can just melt it down. So I'll show you the difference here. This is going to be an Isomalt crystal. So this is all pre-cooked and ready to go. So this is a little bit more familiar in those hard candy pieces. You can see they're nice and clear. So when we cut this open and we look at the tiles themselves, we're just going to pour them into this bowl here. So you can see that these are nice and tempered. They're all super duper clear, and I just have the little tiles here that I can take and melt down. So whether you do that process of cooking it down yourself and you get it to this hard candy form, or you get it already pre-tempered and ready to use so that you don't have to do any of those steps, at this point it is ready to use. There's no temperatures, no recipes. You just melt it down either over the stove or in the microwave in small intervals until it is liquid, and then it's ready to use. Once your Isomalt is in this tempered form, all you have to do is melt it to make all of your decorations. So Isomalt can be used for so many different things, from making lollipops and hard candies, making cupcake toppers, making beautiful glass cake toppers. It can be used for edible glass, edible stained glass, just so many different things. From casting and pouring into molds, you can also pull it and hand sculpt it, make ribbons, make flowers. You can make blown Isomalt pieces, which is kind of like blown glass, except with an edible medium. The possibilities really are endless with Isomalt. So from here, this is kind of your starting point to create anything that you can imagine out of Isomalt, just giving it that unique clarity and just that really signature look of the hard candy. So once you have created your beautiful works of art, at that point, Isomalt is going to be a lot more stable and hold up a lot better than traditional boiled sugar. So if you were to have used traditional boiled sugar for any of the pieces you create, it's very temperamental and very susceptible to moisture and humidity. So any little bit of moisture in the air or in the building will just absorb right into the surface of that sugar, make it very sticky, make it start dripping. I've had pieces melt to a puddle, a liquid puddle, even in an air-conditioned environment within an hour using real sugar. So you want to make sure when you are using the Isomalt that it's just going to be a lot easier. So when you're using the Isomalt, it can sometimes get a tiny bit tacky, but I have a secret for that. I like to glaze all my pieces with a clear edible glaze, and that just kind of creates a barrier between any humidity and moisture in the air and the Isomalt piece. So as long as you glaze it right after you use it, the Isomalt holds up so much better, and it's going to stay nice and shiny and beautiful for weeks, even for months. Even here in humid Florida, where I am based, I don't have any problem using Isomalt like I would with traditional boiled sugar, and that really is one of the main reasons why Isomalt is going to be used instead of sugar. But Isomalt is also going to be a lot more crystal clear. It doesn't yellow to a much higher temperature than traditional sugar, so it's going to be easier to keep it clear, and it's also going to be a lot stronger than sugar, where sugar tends to be very brittle. So Isomalt overall is just going to be a much less temperamental and a much easier medium to work with compared to if you were to make your pieces out of sugar. I'm really looking forward to exploring all of the different things with you that Isomalt can do, so make sure to stay tuned for more Isomalt videos here on Creative Cake Design.